your next one.
Great. So the next one deals with site plan approval. And as this committee knows, we've expanded the number of instances in which, for which site plan approval will be required. They're listed in the memorandum. So site plan approval will be required for all new dwellings. Additions to existing dwellings and buildings to propose an increase in the ground floor area of more than 50 square meters. So roughly 500 square feet, just to be clear. The relocation of an existing dwelling to another location on the lot, new sleeping cabins, new boathouses and expansions to existing boathouses that involve an increase in floor area of more than 50 square meters, or the addition of a sleeping cabin in the second story, and new accessory buildings that exceed 50 square meters of floor area. In one of the delegations earlier today, someone indicated that we would be requiring site plan approval for docks. That's not in the cards, that's not in the official plan, and we're not proposing to do that. Now that will mean, of course, as has already been indicated, that there will be more site plan applications and more resources required at the township to deal with these applications. It is my opinion that going through a site plan process allows for there to be a site-specific conversation with each of these applicants to get the best outcome on each property. And it also allows the municipality to enter into an agreement with the property owner to ensure that certain things are done a certain way, and also to secure securities so that everything is done in accordance with the plans that have been approved before the securities are given back. And lastly, of course, there is the ability to also include monitoring within site plan agreements as well, that allows the township to come in and look at how someone has performed in accordance with that agreement going forward. So in terms of the survey question that was asked, folks were asked whether this was a good idea or not. About 70% or just under 70% said yes, and 31% no, said no. I continue to believe that site plan approval is an appropriate tool. Yes, it does add time to the planning process, but in my opinion, it results in better outcomes. I do recognize as well, however, that resources will need to be, the resourcing issue will need to be addressed going forward. And I know that Mr. Pink has made that point on numerous occasions, so I don't need to make it for him, but we certainly recognize that going forward. So we're recommending that we stay the course in terms of what the official plan is doing right now in terms of what site plan approval is being required for.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald. I believe is the district not now endorsing, or the PPS endorsing, that site plan approval is on every property?
Yes, I should mention that as well. It was also mentioned earlier that is already in the district official plan, so we would be conforming with the district plan and requiring it. So we do have choices in terms of what the thresholds are, but in terms of requiring site plan approval, that is something we need to do in any event according to the district plan.
Okay, thank you. Mayor Harding.
Thank you. I wonder whether or not there's one other criteria that needs to be added to this. And I think about, new accessory buildings exceeding, 500 square feet, 50 square meters. If I'm building an accessory building, a garage on the back part of my lot, it really isn't affecting the waterfront quality. And I wonder whether or not there needs to be a criteria that says in the front 30 meters, any of these adjustments are trigger a site plan. But if it's beyond 30 meters, then it may not trigger site plan. And that's what I'm kind of wondering, because a lot of people do have larger lots. And, as I just built a garage, it's on the back side of my hill. No water actually heads towards, but I would have been required to go through site plan and would have had no effect or change on the water quality.
Okay, Mr. Diamond.
Thanks. I just wanted to mention, people are concerned about the application of site plan control because of time and cost and detail and things like that. But a lot of that can be addressed in how the site plan approval process operates within the municipality. And I understand that you've delegated a lot of that process to staff now. So that's very helpful and can significantly reduce the amount of time that it takes to process the applications. very simple things can be dealt with very quickly, but you still end up with the level of control that you need and the ability to have an agreement. So I'll be quiet after that, but it doesn't need to be, for simple things that people seem to be complaining about, it doesn't need to be a complicated process.
Okay, thank you. I think our challenge is the number of applications that have gone up over the last couple of years. Councillor Jaglowitz.
Thank you, Chair. I think that site plan control should be on all waterfront properties. I think when you start exempting them for one reason or the other, it gets very confusing to the public. Let's keep it simple. Let's keep the process as streamlined as possible. If it's just a garage in the back of the property, it should get through quickly. It also gives the staff an opportunity to take a look at that property. And maybe there are other things on that property that need to be addressed at the same time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Roberts.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and through you, and just a comment. I heard the concern loud and clear for 18 months about site plan approval on the property, waterfront properties, and the impact that it's going to be on township staff and the turnaround time. So the comment is that I look very forward to this year's preliminary budget discussions, where staff will come back and say, given the numbers for 2022, and given that maybe sometime in 2023 we're going to have this implement or approved, possibly, that this is the impact of staff and the additional resources needed to accommodate that load. So it's just a comment to planning for their next go around on the budget. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Hayes.
Thank you. Through you, you talked about the number of site plans, the cost to the resident, the fact that there'll be more staff time involved and it will take longer to have everything passed. You also have to look at the inspections and enforcement, because that's going to add a draw on to staff as well.
Yeah, it will be a natural consequence of this policy being put in place. I understand that. So, Councillor Mazan, are you trying to raise your hand? It never comes up when you want it to, does it?
Yeah, well, no, thank you. And through you, I was going to, and then I wasn't. I was mindful of, am I repeating a comment? I think the question at hand is are we supportive of the site concept of site plan control happening on all the development? If the answer is yes, how we implement that, how we manage it is for a future discussion. But if we agree that it's the right approach or direction, I think that's where we should be headed. So thank you.
Okay. To Councillor Mazan's wonderful description of that. Are we in support of moving this out to the public as it stands? Okay, we have that, Mr. McDonald. So that's great. So